Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Haley Mitchell Haugen. I am the editor of Sheila-Na-Gig Online and Sheila-Na-Gig Editions. And today, Sheila-Na-Gig is hopping across the pond to Scotland to hang out with Katie Riegel as we celebrate the publication of her book, What Life is Like Here on Earth. So very excited to have this rare Sunday opportunity to get together with some folks and to hear you read from the book, Katie. And after Katie does her reading, we have a few guest readers from Sheila-Na-Gig Online and Sheila-Na-Gig Editions who will be sharing some of their work as well. So a little bit about Katie's book and herself. Just going to read, we have a blurb at the back from Sarah Carey. I don't know if Sarah's made it tonight, but I'm going to read her blurb. And Sarah is an author of The Grief Committee Minutes and Bloodstreams, a poet that Katie knows and admires. How can any of us hold trauma and remain open to love in a disappointing world? Poet Katie Riegel wrestles with this question in the clear-eyed poems that comprise her new collection, What Life is Like Here on Earth. These stunning poems, which manage to be both brutally honest and heartfelt testimonies to the speaker's embodied and existential pain, orbit around loss, a mother, a sister, a rural childhood where beloved horses, dogs, and even raccoon kits provided sweetness and protection that feel elusive in the speaker's present-day universe. Animals, both domestic and wild, pervade this collection, offering a lens for understanding depression and despair, but also something more. In our caretaking of creatures, we find lifelines in the routines we count on for normalcy, as well as unexpected joy that can still surprise us into hope. Okay, so one reader's review of the collection, I think it's quite astute and a nice way into the book if you haven't had a chance to read it yet. And a little bit about Katie. Catherine Riegel's most recent book is a lyric memoir about her sister and grief, Our Bodies Are Mostly Water by Cornerstone Press at 2025. Her previous collections of poetry are Love Songs from the End of the World from Main Street Rag, Letters to Colin Firth, winner of the Sundress Publications Chapbook Competition, and What the Mouth Was Made For from Future Cycle, and Castaway also from Future Cycle. Her poems have appeared in Poets Reading the News, Rattle, Swim, Thimble, and elsewhere. She's the co-founder and managing editor of sweetlit.org, and she runs online writing classes in poetry and flash creative nonfiction. So joining us all the way from Scotland today, very excited to celebrate your book finally with you, Katie, and take it away for us.
All right, thank you so much. I do want to say that there is a lot of angst and sorrow and suffering in the book. However, it is easier to be hopeful in Scotland right at the moment. I just have to say that. So, I also want to apologize. I don't think there are any curse words in this particular poem, but there will be in some of the others. I'm going to try to choose the ones that sort of move along, and some of them do have that. This one is about, in part, my sweet, sweet dog who we sort of rescued from a place where he wasn't being abused, but he was definitely neglected. He got anxious when we first got him in if we left the house. So we deliberately left catalogs we didn't mind if he chewed them up out where he could find them, and we called them the sacrificial catalog. Reading my living room floor like tea leaves. The dog got anxious again and shredded a catalog we left on the coffee table for just this purpose, strewing irregular bits of colored paper across the floor. Plus-size sweaters in awful turquoise and fuchsia, leer from muted beige swiped with rust and sage, a rug purchased specifically to hide dirt and dog hair and the occasional spilled milky tea. Clothes in my size are almost always ugly, as though loving chocolate means you can't want to look decent. And though I generally don't care because I'm sporting dubious spots of canine drool and don't have anywhere to go anyway, I will never wear fuchsia even if the damned world is ending. Soon I'll have to get down on my hands and knees to pick up the multitudinous pieces as the fancy German vacuum I bought in a rare moment of financial windfall has a delicate throat not suited to paper. And because my back and various other body parts squeal when I do this, for a moment I contemplate ordering one of those long-handled sticks with a lever for grabbing what's beyond reach and getting it delivered because, let's face it, I'm not lazy, but I am continually tired, my energy worn down to the cords by an immune chewing illness I contracted at the fresh age of 21. Most days I'm faking it worse than the models in that catalog who pretend to be delighted by their homely clothes and bulletproof bras, probably stuck listening to the photographer say they're lucky to be big girl models because they don't have to diet when they're thinking they still have to keep themselves just the right side of size 16 and never lose that hourglass shape. Today I hauled myself up off the couch and crossed the room for a moment. I discerned a shape in the bits of paper, a scale, the old kind with the hanging platforms to weigh coins. And I thought about what we do to balance should with need, who the screens tell us to be with who we are. And if we have to rip something up to get through the day and eat some of it too, then so be it. Chance cages us too often, and living is messy. So, okay, this is the one where I said apologize for the F-bombs that are coming. But if you've ever been sick or chronically ill, if you've gone through aging, the body carries all of it. This is called Not Every Body Is This Hard to Carry. Having a body is like dragging around a huge purse, one of those satchel-sized leather behemoths that holds everything you could possibly need: wallet, change purse, sunglasses, pen, lip balm, clear stream to sit beside, existential crisis, your dead relatives' voices, doggy poop bags. It's all in there, but you have to root around for your keys, and while you're pawing through, you find other things you forgot you were carrying. Envelope with a friend's address on it, white flecked rock you picked up because it was shaped by a heart, like a heart. The thing is fucking heavy, and for some of us, it just gets heavier, and then we discover we can't run with it. The corners are soggy with pain. Old to-do lists spill from the top. The body begins to tear. Duct tape doesn't help. It's a struggle to keep everything where it's supposed to be. Suddenly, your crackling knees insist, I am you. And your mind says, fuck off. But then you remember you're actually inside the ginormous purse. And oh my God, there's the bike you rode at 14, hot wind in your face, the turquoise ring you can no longer wear on your swollen fingers, and at the very bottom, a weedy path you know you have to walk, you want to walk. If you can just get it together, chivvy yourself out of your chair, not always hopeful, but alive, still alive. Um, and as I was choosing the poems, I was just sort of looking for ones that might go over well if read out loud, but it's turning out that heaven is kind of a theme as well as the body and, of course, my sister. This one is called We're All Standing in Line for That. Someone in Florida, always Florida, was caught selling tickets to heaven for $100. Drugs, Jesus, outer space, the details don't matter, only the certainty that nearly anyone would pay $100 to get to heaven, and the surest way to get there is to be dead. People don't like to talk about it, But many of us think about being dead and how it just might be better than being alive. In heaven, surely the news doesn't slash you with the screams of children pulled from parents seeking asylum in one of the richest countries in the world. In heaven, surely we've all found our purpose. And yes, maybe that purpose is to take the very best drugs anyone has ever imagined and sit around chatting with Jesus, who must be one hell of a guy if he said even a little of that stuff about loving your neighbor and helping the poor and heaven being a rich asshole free place because no kind of camel is getting through the eye of any kind of needle. Of course, what do I know about being dead? On my resume under experience, it's all just living, watching my parents die and my sister die and my brothers and me getting older, and none of us flying to outer space with the billionaires, just trying to remember the old songs so we have something to do while we're waiting. So this one is back to the theme of the body and my mother, who was physical and playful and always claimed that she did not get jokes. This is the tying of shoes. The two bunny ears, one bending down and through, then around again before pulling both ears tight. The second loop, a trick our mother taught to keep shoes from coming untied. And as far as I know, none of us ever tripped on an undone shoelace. I thought we were remarkably unbroken, no cast for any of us. But then I remember my oldest brother losing a chunk of his calf when he tried to break up a dogfight, my fall from a tree, stitches, concussion, my other brother's eyebrow cut during a game involving hurled dirt clods and the curtain of blood he described. My sister's fall from a horse, the 6 days of her unconsciousness, me too young to know how worried I should be. Our mother also taught us the physical art of joy in movement, throwing and running, scooping grain from the feed box, oiling and polishing leather saddles and bridles. That to live a life you cannot stop, that you must use every trick you have to remember play, that a body is not a tool, but a song that needs to be constantly sung. I will say that a lot of these poems were written because said best friend from college basically strong armed me into joining um, a Zoom group that meets once a week and we share our work. And you say, oh, I won't have anything next week. Please don't worry about it. But then because they're going to be there and they're kind of hoping that you're going to have something, things happen. So this one is just an imagination, just pure fancy about what might change if maybe we could conjure up imagine perfumes. And I don't speak French, so forgive me. Parfumerie Magique, the magic perfume shop. I've only shopped for scents a few times in my life, out of place in my unlabeled jeans and t-shirts, but this establishment is irresistible. The bell rings as I step inside, and there it is in a chestnut-colored bottle. Eau de velvet horse nose, the smell of uncomplicated love. And here's aroma of a dog's cheek, interdependence, solace. My friend picks up a bold red vial labeled being right and everyone acknowledging it. And if she doesn't buy it for herself, I will. For every day, I suspect she'll select cold brew with cream. I once worked in a library shelving books, the most optimistic years of my life, so dusty tomes nearly leaps into my hand. The shelves moved in that library, gliding on electric runners, startling when I was working at night and a coworker pranked me. Maybe they even have my worst fear is a library ghost, because these days Yeats's rough beast crowds the edges of my vision no matter where I look. Maybe I should just infiltrate the factory and churn out only peace perfume, send it up in planes to be dropped like fabulous bombs over the whole suffering earth. And what might that smell like? Spring sunlight, chocolate fondue, mint leaves, twin fawns hopping on their two long legs, with bass notes of fresh beginnings and flight, the smooth blues of the air caressing you every day you're alive. This is lovely. Last time I did a Zoom reading, there wasn't such an easy way to like have flowers and hearts and things going off the screen. It's really fun. This is a poem for my youngest niece, who always knew I was better with animals than people. The barred owls call in their monkey way, fog prowls the neighborhood, and on my phone I see my niece texted at 5:30 to say they had to put their curly mutt, 14, to sleep. Small, oddly put together dog with front feet that turned out like a dancer in plie, and she hoped her other aunt, my sister, would take care of him in heaven. No morning will ever start like this again, and who should I thank or curse for that? Once upon a time, my niece pretended to be a dog to get my attention. I was not the aunt who scooped her up for tickles, explained the rules of games, so she, the youngest, could play with her older siblings. Now she is a mother. Now she has broken herself and made a kaleidoscope, her pieces forming and reforming a new beauty time and again. I don't know what the owls are saying, but I hope they are calling all our lost souls home. And just one more that I thought I would end on again, positive imagination. This is just imagining what the heaven of dogs looks like. The afterlife of dogs is where the party's at. The tail swinging nose first howl of a time we all dream of deep in the old houses of our animal bodies, where the earth is so close we can taste puppyhood again. The dance floors all play bows and prancing and neck bites, and there ain't no food table, just big bowls of chicken and sausages refilling themselves forever. The afterlife of dogs stretches huge across every idea of heaven, and the doors stand open to any size or shape, breed or color. Maybe you can fly in your afterlife, and that's okay, but you're going to want to lie down in the dog's meadow where the sun warms fur and the smells are winged jewels everyone can see. I'll tell you the truth. I can't remember when I didn't fear suffering, when the future didn't seem like a steamroller-sized mail truck loaded with danger on glossy cardstock. I try to remember my body's the fucking galaxy, and so is yours. And long after this trudge through the sleet in too thin shoes, may something of us still be around to watch all the good boys and good girls roll and shake on the bank of the river of stars. Thank you. Oh, doggies on the screen. I love it.
Thanks so much, Katie, for these enjoyable poems. I love the idea of a dog meadow somewhere in our futures. It's really
Definitely.
fabulous to have you here. We are enjoying Katie Riegel from Scotland reading from What Life is Like Here on Earth, her new collection from Sheila-Na-Gig Editions. So thank you so much, Katie. We're going to switch gears now. We're going to welcome some more authors from Sheila-Na-Gig Editions and Sheila-Na-Gig Online. We have a couple folks here who will be in our summer issue, which isn't quite out yet. I'm a little bit behind, but we're starting to celebrate that issue as well. And we're going to move from Scotland all the way to Southern California. And Katie's friend, Victoria Melekian, will kick off our invited mic for us. Hi, Victoria.
Hi there. Thank you. And that is why Katie is my teacher and my mentor. I am one of probably many presidents of her fan club. And I have already read this in a Sheila-Na-Gig reading, but since it's Katie, I'm going to read the Katie poem. It was a prompt in one of her classes. Katie asks, why not be optimistic? Listen, Katie, hope is not that easy. Humanity is a collision of red and blue chaos, a giant slop of disharmony that's killing us and the planet. You can't just order up a box of hope and be an optimist by noon tomorrow. You've got to create your own. I learned from the experts. I sat out front and watched Jack shoot hoops in the driveway over and over and over till he had 19 in a row, one more than yesterday. Gracie and I picked dandelion puffs and blew them into the breeze. Fingers crossed they'll root in the grass. Let's fill the yard, Grandma. Grow wishes for everyone. All afternoon we seeded our future. Yellow flowers and fluffy white globes stretched across a wide green lawn under a bright chrysanthemum sun. And then my second poem is The End of Me. I'm not one to go visiting grave sites, just as well, since Mom and Grandma and Grandpa opted for cremated remains in niches way up high near the bug zapper. And poor Dad was scattered in the desert, which is what he wanted, but it worries me. He's all alone out there in the wind and the heat. I need a plan for myself, or I'll spend eternity in a cardboard box wedged in my son's car trunk. If my husband's still around, he'll take custody of me, but he never puts anything away. Shoes tucked under the bed, reading glasses on top of a book. I'll end up a small cone of ashes next to a bronze urn, a pile that shrinks with every gust and breeze until one afternoon the light will hit just right and he'll dust me off with his sweater sleeve. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria, for those wonderful poems. Thank you, Haley, for another celebration of new poetry collections through Sheila-Na-Gig Editions. And thank you, Katie, for Peace Perfume, an aroma so enticing that I ordered the book right after the poem was over. And, Haley can verify that if need be. Okay, my two poems, I'm going to give you something new today, and then a poem that is in a chapbook that I'm very nearly finished with. So here we go. This one, the first line is the title, so we'll just dive right in. Love is aspirational, and learning that young is a blessing, Kat said. Herself twice divorced with 2 daughters by 20. I bought another round for the regulars at Nick's. Samson, the one-eyed bartender who once aspired to pro wrestling, began filling glasses of beer, and I watched him watching Kat on the sly, him more wishing than hoping. My dad saw himself as a big banking exec, but that was a slight man's alcoholic confabulation, his left arm polio withered and his tongue made of lies for Mom. He and one-eyed Samson shared a history, striking out with Kat, passing out behind the wheel, grifting drop-ins at Nick's with their nifty bar tricks. I thought about love once with Luann after 2 weeks shacked up on a Baja beach, but it didn't take. She wanted to be a nurse more than she wanted me. So after flunking consecutive semesters, she skedaddled home to Ohio, where her old boyfriend manages the Mogador 7-Eleven and fantasizes about being Donald Trump while Luann nurses a broken dream. Kat and I sit at night in my car a couple times a week, parked out by Apple Valley Airport. We kiss some, but mostly we talk about blown chances and opportunities. Or we're church quiet, arms around one another while the unreliable stars of fortune hang in the windshield, tiny lanterns in a vast, empty promise of sky. Okay, and this second one is entitled American Prayer. Give us this day our daily laughter, the sky at my door, well loved, the desert evening, primrose yellow with spring, the suburbs awash in their television broadcasts, legions of young cousins writing shamanistic poems about contentment, all my queer friends held so close to the heart, while graceful shadows of overhead sandhill cranes thread riverbed grasses teeming with tiny frog peeps. Give us one of those pink moons they sing about. Give us an ode to neighbors that don't carry a gun and a grudge. I want to need to have you at my door. Women's voices safe, full, musical and sharp again. Give us baby blue. Give us mad quack ducks that wear knitted hats bequeathed by long lost grandmothers. Give us ghosts in the pipes of our old homes, whispering their dirty jokes, reading aloud their faded love letters. Let us read the letters that haven't yet been written. Let us breathe. Serve up our disappointment disguised as joy. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Michael. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Haley for putting this together. I would like to read first my poem in the spring issue of Sheila-Na-Gig, and then I'll follow that up with another one published elsewhere. Here's a fish out of water situation, overseas travel, that kind of thing. To the barista in Vienna whom I meant to tip but didn't. I was too busy watching myself sitting at your counter, spellbound, saucers empty at the centers, broken off chocolate at the edges, the streams pouring from the machines, the steam. A dish towel was draped over your shoulder. I was tired, overstimulated, grateful to sit a few minutes. The latte was nice and nutty. I thought I would just add tip at the register, but you rung up exactly what I owed. I signed and left, too busy being embarrassed. My family found me. We walked on. Men in costume hawked concert tickets, jewelry, leather, confectionery, clock museum, opera house. Christmas markets we hadn't hit, a couple we had. Dusk, tapestries of soft light hovering above. Everyone except me, apparently, dressed for the weather. Long, slender coats zipped to the neck. Warm boots, earth tones. In your city of music and structure, in the midst of such seductiveness, I lost my favorite wool hat and one glove. A man bumped me, sent my shopping bag flying. Maybe, when you learned you've been shorted, you shrugged, smiled to yourself. Maybe you cursed me. Maybe, probably, you were too busy to imagine me. I imagine you wiping down that counter, thinking about your next day off, waking late, stretching under covers, hand touching a loved one's back. And inspired by some of Katie's poems, I was going to read another one and I changed my mind. I would like to contribute another dog poem to the poetic stratosphere. Again, with this one, the title is also the first line. My dog makes an omelet for me every morning, and one for herself. I open to the fashion section to see who's being dressed, and I sigh in gratitude for my good luck, all of it. Eyesight, working knees, cancer kicked, roof over my head. My omelet comes over on a polka dot sandwich plate. She's already scarfed hers, wobbly center, a touch of pepper. Mine's a touch more done. Her whole body wags as though today's the day she will have her say, but I already know what she's saying. Is it okay? Is there enough cheese? She is 30 pounds of unflagging devotion. Every morning I reassure her all is in balance. The cheese is sharp but not overpowering. The texture is fluffy. The scallion slivers on top make me want to stay home and create. And I know what her stare is really saying. Can I have yours? Is today the day? Will my 8:30 have to wait? My fork is in my hand and moving. Clearly, I'm not above cutting off this corner and lowering myself to the floor. Down here, her coat is redder, more gold, like the leaves clinging to the limbs outside my window. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ann Honaker. I'll be reading from my book, Night is Another Realm Altogether. It deals mostly with my chronic fatigue syndrome. The first is called Cleft. The pine broke in the storm's gales, creating a jagged wound. 75% gone in an instant. I found myself stumbling over my own Converses on the way back from my daily walk. This was the beginning. The tree had one branch left. The rest of its body was sawn and carted away. Every day I visited the sea, its jumbled voice falling over itself, its ivory parallelogram shifting across its jade surface. Gradually I lost strength. Sometimes after work I'd sit on the couch in a silent room, thinking nothing. It was such a relief to have no words in my head. I dwindled inside a failing body. I cut my work hours. The power bill wasn't paid. I sat in the dark, lighting candles. Once in sub-zero temperatures, I stumbled to the wharf anyway. The waves were frozen mid-surge. I am frozen mid-life. My mind stutters. My eyes lean toward closing. My heart refuses. My arms ache softly. I let them lay where they fall. It's just my traitorous body and me now. I don't walk or my legs burn. I pant and sweat. I sleep as soon as I come home, drenched and emptied in bed. I miss the purl of the waves lapping against the wharf, the ravenous gulls dropping mollusks on rocks. I miss pausing among the pines as their needles susurrate in imitation of silence. The pine in the backyard stretches out its final arm. It lives its quarter life. I wonder if wood carries memories, if it knows it was once more. Every organ of my body remembers being. Now that I'm less, the cleft remnant of me mourns. The second one is called I Disappear into the Night. I step over the night's sharp teeth, walk down her throat. I'm swallowed. I am my shadow. In the distance, gunshots. There are always gunshots at night. Then silence floods back in, a river released from its dam. A stream of moonlight waters the grasses, builds a sturdy path of shine. I could follow it, but it will get me no closer to the moon. Daylight eats it up like a ribbon of licorice. The next night will appear again at a changing angle. The grasses caress each other's throats as the night sighs. I sigh and turn liquid. I flow directionless. A dog's sharp bark shakes the window panes. The air trembles and I follow the tremble, listening to the sound's shifting landscape. Mostly the world pulls back into houses. Mostly the darkness is herself, the primordial mother. Mother's children are the owl, the moth, the possum, the coyote, and the deer that leaps in front of headlights, startling. I can't know what's around the next bend of this mountain road. I would need to go very far into night's belly to see the Milky Way. My city glows upward, a red smear on the horizon. Without city lights, the night would be whole, with no ground and no sky. It would be bones and flesh then. I could hear its heartbeat. My illness holds me in night's teeth, so I'm closer to death than most are. Ghosts no longer frighten me. They are as humdrum as morning coffee. They happen, then they slide through the sane fissure of morning. No one finds me or my shadow in the night. I can stay there for days. Thank you.
This is my first online reading, so please forgive the awkwardness. I'm going to read two poems. The first one was in the spring issue of Sheila-Na-Gig, and it's called Glowstick, which a little word about where it came from. I picked up my ancient Penguin Classics paperback of the Lays of Marie de France, and I was reading those, and there's a famous one called Glowstick, and it involves a nightingale, and it occurred to me that I don't know what a nightingale sounds like, even though they figure so prominently in so much poetry and literature. I didn't know. So I found myself looking up videos of nightingales on YouTube, and this poem was kind of born from that experience. So, Glowstick. Marie de France makes me wonder, so I turn to my phone asking, how does a nightingale sound? In my palm, in a cherry tree, a plain brown bird. From the blurring yellow funnel of his beak, he lets escape a madcap teeter-totter song, a tizzy of clicks and ticks. The distant day shimmers, edges dipped in summer. Removed from time, the cherries are always hard and green. Over and again, this tiny ghost sings his theme. Ah, prepare the jeweled casket. The snare is ever set. For centuries, a lady in a scarlet sprinkled smock has wrapped once more her samite cloth around this little singer, a lover's farewell gift, light as a milkweed pod. The second poem is called Spared. 3 Japanese beetles cluster on the rose to patiently strip the leaves to their veins. A jar of soapy water means nothing to them. When I pluck them, they cling meekly to my fingers with thorny legs, as if I were safe. 1, 2, 3, I toss them, high, up high, tumbling through an abrupt puzzle of garden, house, and sky. At the peak of the arc, each is transfixed against the blue, remembers it has wings, and, unthinking, flies. They believe in nothing, not in me, an almighty power barely perceived, already forgotten. Not even in being spared, getting cast from the garden, just one dizzying surprise in a day of chaos. They will eat and mate and eat again, pests, yet beautiful, shining coppery elytra, pronotum dark metallic jade. They are the peacock plume of oil on gleaming pavement after rain. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Deni, And I'm going to read these from my screen. I've never done that before, so I don't know what that will look like from your end. But first, I want to say, Katie, your poems blew me away, and I will be ordering your book when I get paid. I got nothing in there right now, but I can't wait to order it. And Haley, thank you for publishing the 2 poems that I'm going to read today in this that are coming up in the summer issue. I am also not very good on Zoom, and I tried to send reactions. I don't know if they made it, but my first poem is called Dear 20th Century, and I think that will probably explain a lot. I really miss the 20th century. All right. Dear 20th Century, remember when sharing a cigarette was a kind of foreplay? The way you pulled it from your mouth, your lower lip still clinging? Remember the boy who filled your tank at the marathon station? His shirt sleeves robin egg blue, his long, muscular arms. He winked, and you began dreaming. We all did. Imagine now all the boys who loosed the cap, sometimes flirting, sometimes bored, living all these years later with mental illness they earned along with minimum wage, because no one knew those delicious fumes would make their way into the nervous systems of an entire generation. I'll admit I enjoy living in the past, not just my past, but others as well. Look back and see my mother, who ferried across the San Francisco Bay every weekday between 1954 and 56. She was young, and in that moment, you were too. While the entire country lay east and ahead, while the future was light years away, unless you pulled a book from a shelf and read one delicious wood pulp page at a time about medical scans that would one day see inside your body, bad lungs that would be replaced by good ones, utopian dreams of free labor and phones you could carry in your pocket. Now I am living in a future we once read about. I pull out my cell phone, and among other things beyond my understanding, I learn that far, far away, the Parker Solar Probe makes its closest ever approach to the sun, swooping nearer to our star than any human-made object in history. When I really think about it, a small spaceship the size of an automobile flying close to the sun while I lie awake in my room, well, just to know it makes me feel vulnerable. My mother's journals are housed in a box beneath my bed now, filled with accounts of falling in love, drinking beer in the back seat of a friend's Oldsmobile Futuramic, a honeymoon in Chicago. Remember when we followed our history that way? When we tracked evidence through thousands, no, millions of onion skin pages, like breadcrumbs leading us back to past mistakes and ascendancies, paragraphs scratched or whited out, arrows in the margins. These days, I find myself and others floating like lost astronauts, our lifelines to the mothership severed. We look for constellations we once recognized, Betelgeuse, and other stars that may no longer exist. All right. Second poem. It's a poem about a long life and friendship, and it's called A History of Bohemian Waxwings. Go back, way back, before Medicare, before bad hips, bad backs, bad knees, before those beautiful stones and exotic chocolates, before meditations and cancer and small airway disease, before my life on the pond and your kitchen renovation, before trips to England and France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Wales, before Vietnam, Thailand, and bathing elephants in the river. Let's go back before our children arrived, before our lovers, before we rediscovered each other, before we grew apart, before poetry and the school of art before we dusted the dorm room with Johnson & Johnson and still got busted. Let's go back to high school, but not for long because I hated it there except for you. Let's be children again. Let's be the oldest child of an alcoholic and the girl with so many freckles her cheeks are brown. The one who moved from Connecticut, leaving best friend Lauren behind. Let's go back to pretending we are blind girls walking down Central Avenue, ringing church bells and blowing out the raw contents of an egg to drive a crazy nun even crazier. Let's pull out Maura Maguire's hair, one hair at a time. Let's hang out in your periwinkle bedroom, cover our faces in shaving cream, photograph our heads exposed from behind a dressing table curtain, and listen to a rock opera. Let's ask ourselves how we got so lucky, for all the elements to align, for the moon to appear both day and night, for trillium to line the path, and grass lily to guide us home. How did we not recognize all along we were bohemian waxwings, feeding on the fruit of ornamental trees? Thank you.
There you go.
This first poem is titled Lady. She's corgi. Mom had her since a puppy. My mom, Willette, went into Cresthaven. She couldn't keep her. Is there a newsletter? Oh, a web page. If you could put up Lady's picture. She's a sweetie. I think Lady was the only one Willette knew towards the end. Cresthaven didn't allow dogs, so Willette couldn't have her. We have her in a crate in the foyer off the kitchen. Sam and I, we have 2 teens. We're out all day and Lady's fine. She's 17. Oh, a place in Weatherford takes seniors? That's a drive from Ozona. Like you, I'm out showing properties. Sam's on call with Texas Power. The kids with their activities, Michelle's and band. Maybe your webpage. Lady's a sweetheart. Willette, people used to say, she is just like your child. We had dogs growing up in Wichita Falls. No, we can't keep her. That's out of the question. A shelter here in Ozona? I hadn't known. That would be better than taking her out and dropping her in the sandhills. We can't keep her. Sam has allergies. Michelle had a hamster, but she's not much into animals, nor is Mike, our son. Maybe someone at the shelter. I didn't know there is one. It's overcrowded. Someone will drive her to that place in Weatherford. My uncle had a dog, got lost. The pound called, and my uncle told the pound, that dog is old. Put it to sleep. And the second poem is a lot newer. It's titled Alan Burns. I'm going back to fall 1975, to my coming upon Alan and Jean while out walking, to my knowing that Alan didn't introduce me to Jean, I'd already met her, to my knowing Alan and Jean just a little, and both seemed shy, and my knowing Alan was a novelist and Jean a nurse, or a nursing student. I'm going back to walking through their door and sitting at their table over coffee, and then leaving. I'm going back to leaving it there, to having no recollection of a moment I was with either of them separately or together ever again. To my knowing Jean, like Alan, was from England, and leaving it there, knowing the rest is hearsay, that they were married and went back to England and had a daughter born in Minnesota. To my knowing for some years now that Alan had died, and then that the novelist Ian McEwan, author of Atonement, had studied with Alan, had been Alan's student in England. To my knowing, finding out last night, Alan's reputation as an experimental novelist is substantial, that even before crossing the pond he'd made his mark, that he died in 2013, and that Jean died in 1998, which surprised me, knowing she, several years younger than he, was about my age. knowing Alan looked in a photo I saw last night just like he looked the night I met him. A full brown beard trimmed and hair only wisps of hair on top. Knowing Jean's long hair a shade lighter than Alan's beard was, like all of her, what I'd call pretty, in a quiet way, like if Jean were single and we met at a party and I could sense she wanted a kiss, I, without hesitation, would have kissed her angular face, her skin pale without blemish. That Saturday afternoon of my knowing only Alan and Jean, no one else for an hour, maybe a bit more than an hour, we three wore coats. It was late fall, Minneapolis, Dinkytown. While out walking, we were on that street that leads in and out of Dinkytown from the west, away from the campus, and if you were walking, it would be before you get to the village part of shops and stores. The trees had lost their leaves by then. That moment they encountered me and I them, and they invited me into their ground floor apartment. So I can say I spent a good hour with just Alan and Jean. Now, if you were out walking and you came upon the village part, we three never got that far. It would look different from how it looked in 1975. In memory, I'm on that street of tall, dark trees and come upon them and we stop. And they are not bundled up. They are invisible. They are ghosts. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for wrapping us up, and thank you for all of our Sheila-Na-Gig Online and Editions authors for being here, and friends of Katie who've dropped in to help us celebrate Katie Riegel's What Life is Like Here on Earth. So thank you so much, everybody. This week, still on Thursday, July 2nd, we'll be celebrating Jessica Corey. She's an Appalachian author from North Carolina. We'll be celebrating her debut chapbook. So tune in on Thursday night at 7 p.m. Love to have you guys here again. And you can find all of our books and journals at Sheila-Na-Gig blog.com. Thanks, everybody.